Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. You are welcome to another edition of Latoken VCTV, where we obviously view trends, topics that affect us and affect you also. Today, I am streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, and my name is Nathaniel Oluwatumi Amida, and I'm your moderator for today's edition of Latoken VCTV. And today we have an interesting topic, and with me to discuss it entirely alone is Gary. And I have a lot of questions, and obviously Gary will be the only one responding to the questions for now. And I'd like to give us a brief overview of what we'll be discussing today. We'll be talking about thriving in the mixed work-life environment of remote tech, work tech, obviously post-COVID. And there are certain realities that is upon us right now. And the fact that post-COVID, most companies are getting used to the fact that working from home, remote work, is equally as productive as on-site work. Now, the question is, with the new adoption of remote tech and remote work, what are the pressing challenges that we face? How do we overcome them? And what is the best way forward, both for developed and developing and emerging countries? Today, I'd like to welcome our audience to participate in today's show, and there are different ways you can participate. You can go on our LinkedIn page, you can write comments. Our YouTube channel is there. You could be watching us right from Facebook or from Twitter. You can easily participate by just posting a comment. We'll read it out and respond. And then also, we also have our techie guys, our entrepreneurs, startups, developing one or two projects here and there. And we want to encourage them to use this opportunity to take their projects global, coming to this platform, pitching to the team at Latoken, and we'll schedule a session for you to pitch your project to, our panel available and take your project global. It might just be the exposure that you need. So I think we jump right into today's today's discussion. Um, Gary, please introduce yourself, let the audience know who you are, and I'll go in with the questions.
Yeah, great to be here, Nathaniel. Great to be here with everybody, this incredible audience. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies, and I've been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion about 2 years ago now. And I am the co-founder of one of the top remote workforce management companies, Eva.ai, a premier AI HR tech company, one of the top 7 in the world today. My partner, David Yang, is a billionaire from Russia, originally from Russia. We formed it in Silicon Valley. So I love artificial intelligence and quantum. Today, I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley, helping companies from around the world to go global using Silicon Valley as support. I'm also a writer. I've written over 125 articles in the last year on AI, quantum, and the startup entrepreneurship. I also do a lot of broadcasts. I've done about 500 over the last year. So it's great to be here. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Awesome, Gary. And for the audience, Alim and Henderwin, thanks for the comments on Facebook, and we're seeing you live. And if you have questions, please pop in more questions as the discussion goes on. So, Gary, WorkTech, RemoTech, I had to study and find out that there's a real difference. WorkTech is supposed to be defined as the tools and the apps that an HR department uses to make their work more effective. And I guess in that instance, the project you talk about at eva.ai will be a prime example of a WorkTech tool. Then we have remote tech, which is tech that allows users access information or devices remotely. For example, the platform we are using right now, StreamYard. Um, so my own question, first of all, to you is that we have discussed about this topic in various other sessions, and I would like to understand, or probably the audience will probably have this question: how should employers, or employers especially, or technology to be deployed to manage effectively the challenges of work life? Now, I mentioned to you before I went on that I'm supposed to be at another event, right? And I faced the challenge of transit. Now, somebody will say that, yeah, you could also go ahead, you know, in transit and still host your show and all that, but productivity will be affected. What is your own take on the emerging challenges of work-life balance vis-a-vis with the technology that we have today?
Well, I mean, think about what's happened, Nathaniel. Over the last year during this pandemic, we've had to fundamentally change the way that we live our lives, to fundamentally change the way that we work, fundamentally change a lot of things about our entire business and personal lives. So we've had to adapt technologies. I remember 5 years ago when I was one of the early Zoom users, and my friends would say, "Oh, why do you want to use this Zoom?" I would send a link out and I'd say, "Join me on Zoom." And why do you want to use this? I have Skype. I said, because this thing is really, really good. And so sent the link out. And finally, my friends started to use it. And look now. So I remember at the beginning, now the situation, Eric is worth about $20 billion, the founder of Zoom. And we've changed our lives. Why? Because it's been necessity for us to go down and make the shift. There were about 30 million users of Zoom at the beginning of the pandemic. There are over 400 million daily users of Zoom today. So our lives have shifted, and think about it. And you said one thing that's incredibly important is how much better is our productivity now? Today you're in Lagos. My partner is in Lagos. Here I am in Key West, Florida. Today we're on the other side of the planet Earth, but yet we're communicating in an entirely different way than we would have done a year and a half ago. It just wasn't as accepted. The other thing is, now it's helped us to really level the playing field. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters if you can get the job done. And
That's
that
right.
really shifted. We accept it. The other thing is, we brought some humanity into our lives. I can't tell you how many times that I've been on a Zoom call or StreamYard and somebody's dog or child has come in and before it was like, oh, they're working at home, was distracting. But now you understand we've got to have a little bit of humanity in our lives. And we've had to adapt. We've also had to adapt in a very good way. I mean, think about the fundamental shifts that have taken place over that year. We've now had to go down through and reorganize our lives. And initially, people thought, well, geez, I'm going to work out of my home and I'm not going to be as productive. In reality, they're highly productive. In fact, maybe too productive because we're getting up way early in the morning. Here it is. I don't even. It's not that early now. It's 6:30. But I'll be on till almost midnight tonight. So if we look at it, but we're covering a vast amount. I suspect that the people that really take off at the beginning of this digital transformation, and we're still in the beginning of it, are going to be so far ahead of everybody else. The ones that adapt the technology, the companies that adapt it. So Eva.ai, my company, remote workforce management. I started the company 5 years ago. 3 years ago, we pivoted to remote workforce management. And it wasn't like we're Nostradamus and we had a crystal ball that this pandemic's going to hit and this is what's going to happen. We just understood that, that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. So why not use remote workforces to be able to get the job done from anywhere to anywhere? So we came up with Eva. And I remember 3 years ago, people said, "Oh, why would you do remote workforce management?" Why? But because Nathaniel, at the beginning of the pandemic, my business went up 38 times. 38. So
Wonderful.
at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's been a challenge forever. We have not really taken care of. So let's say we have a headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. We've got workers all over the world. How in the world, if you're sitting there or anywhere, can you manage a workforce that's in Europe, the US, Canada, Japan, China? It's impossible. And, we do reviews once a year. Well, guess what? So you do a review with a customer or a employee, and after that period of time, let's say 3 months in, there's a problem. Well, you don't review them again, him or her, for another 9 months. It makes zero sense. We should have real time monitoring to be able to understand what kind of sentiments, what's happening with our employees, because we don't want to lose those high value employees and we want to keep our productivity up. We need to have insights. It's interesting because the same kind of insights that we have with employees, think about the supply chain. We couldn't even get a roll of toilet paper in a lot of countries around the world, but we have quantum computers. What's wrong with that picture? So we need to have insight. And by bringing artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning into the equation, imagine being able to tell that an employee is going to leave a company 6 months to a year before they think about it. Before they know. So you can course correct, you can change. Many times the reason employees leave is because they have challenges with their managers or other coworkers. But imagine you can solve those problems so it doesn't become a dysfunctional organization. Those are the kind of things that are really important. Our lives, our employees are our most valuable asset, but sometimes we don't treat them like that. What we say is we need to be able to manage those workforces better. And you're right about the balance between the work life balance. But on the other side of it, I don't know about you, but for me now, normally in the morning, I commute 2 hours to my office in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto and back to my home. 4 hours every day commuting. And I have to leave the office or leave my house at 5:30 in the morning to get in so I can reasonably get into my office. And I can't leave the office till about 8 o'clock at night because it's too busy, traffic. So I don't get home to 10. By the time I get things taken care of, it's midnight. I'm back up again in the morning at 5 o'clock. So, and think about how not unproductive and how much money I'm spending, traveling in a car, coming back. So I believe, this digital transformation, McKinsey said 93% of the companies within the next 10 years were going to go through the digital transformation. This was 2 years ago. But the pandemic's pushed everything forward. We've had to move very, very quickly, Nathaniel. Very
Yeah,
quickly.
that's right. That's right. You say a lot of good things about the adoption of a lot of these technologies, and it's really impressive. Impressive. I mean, I'm a beneficiary of one of that, but there's also a high risk for workers or employees to get overworked, interruptions, isolation, technology problems, and communication challenges. And to me, these are some of the concerns employees might have, and they are not really addressing this with the technologies being deployed. What do you say about these concerns?
Well, I've seen some of the next generation tools that are coming out. For instance, uh, imagine that you're an employee and that your boss is having a event where he's speaking to the employees. You can actually see your avatar, his avatar or her avatar on stage. You can see yourself in a crowd sitting in a auditorium. I've seen these next generation tools. So what's going to happen is as we start to add more AR and VR, and we start to make these experiences more hyper personalized, they're going to become more real. We're going to start to work in this. We've already started in this digital transformation, but now we're going to start working in this virtual world a lot more deeply. So, in terms of isolation, there are obviously situations where people are many times who want to come together. It's Viktor Frankl wrote a book called Man's First Search for Meaning. We do want to be around each other. We do want to have that effect. But I'm on the other side of it. I got to tell you, I believe that with the digital platforms that are out there, like the StreamYards, like the Zooms of the world, we're out. We do connect. We just connect in an entirely different way. We're not using all of our senses, smell, obviously, vision
Bo-
to be able to see,
Body language. Yeah.
and body language. We're not. But at the same time, we're so highly productive. Think about it. It's like how much less stress is there in general because we're using some of these technologies. So I believe what's going to happen is we're going to have more of these hyper personalization, more social oriented tools. They're going to start to come into this digital space and to be able to transform it. So it is more personal. I don't know about you. My thing is, I say that as we start to ratchet up these coronavirus vaccines, people are going to be really crazy and they want to meet in person, have breakfast, lunches together, talk, drinks, whatever. It's going to happen. It's going to last about 6 months because they're going to understand how highly unproductive it is. So they're going to come more into a hybrid kind of a workspace. By that, I say, I think what will happen is, employers will start to say, listen, come into the office once a week, come into the office twice a week. You don't need to be here all the time because they're just so much more productive. And by having tools like Eva in place, you're going to be able to see it. We can see how much more productive people are working from their homes rather than working from the office. You can see because you're not interrupted. You don't have the same kind of things with, well, let's sit down, let's go to Starbucks, let's have a talk, et cetera. When a lot of it is wasted time. Now the situation, it's less wasted. And we are coming up with tools that can actually, so they're tools you can put on your computer so you can actually see to make sure your employees are at their notebooks, right, or desktops. So there are new next generation tools coming out to be able to monitor those kind of things. So it's very, very interesting. And I'm excited because it really does level the playing field. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters what you can get done.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think the emerging technology hyper personalization of technology will considerably solve the problems that I mentioned earlier and help people to interact more. Obviously, maybe affect productivity, but in the process of developing all these hyper personalized technologies, do you see a line being crossed with privacy? Will people's privacies be invaded all in a bid to get more information from them and their behaviors?
Well, Nathaniel, think about it. You use Google search, right? You use LinkedIn, you use Facebook. Do you have any concerns about your privacy? You know what I mean? It's like we use all these tools. It's like the craziest thing I've ever heard. Do you use Gmail? It's like you send your stuff. It is not free, right? There's a reason that they let you do it because they look through your email and they extract it. And you wonder why you get super hyper personalized ads. It's
Exactly.
so it's like it's amazing to me. People talk security and privacy, but they're logging in using a Facebook account. I mean, duh, this is not rocket science. You know what I mean? So it just gets me. It drives me crazy because we do that so much, and yet, do you accept these cookies? Do you, when we're going out? So I think that, we really, as we're lazy. The problem is we're really lazy and we don't think about what we're doing. So we need to go down through ourselves. If we're really that concerned with our privacy, what's going to happen is imagine tokenizing data, your own personal data, and to being able
Wow.
to sell it, right? So, but then be careful what you ask for because right now you don't pay for Google and you have access to the world. Well, what would happen if Google can't make any money and he's got to start charging $100 a month to be able to search on Google? How many people are going to want to pay it, right? So, be careful what you ask for. I think that as we look at the world around us, there are 40 zettabytes of data around the world. If you stack CDs, as I've said many times, one on top of another, it would go 29 times between Earth and the moon. We're in a state of infobesity that's grown at 67.8% per year. So we are inundated with information. At the same time, the people that are going to win throughout life are people that understand data. We need to have not smart but intelligent AI assistants to help us, like guardian angels. Like having your mother on your shoulder. Do this, Nathaniel. Do this, Gary. This is something you do. Somebody that can look out for us. Those kind of intelligent assistant, compassionate, emotional, intelligent assistants are going to be coming out to be able to help us guide our lives in an entirely different way. So we need it. And the data that's around us, as you're right about, as employees, of course we've got privacy risk, but we're using we're using LinkedIn, we're using all these other tools that are that we're using for free, that are absolutely taking our information and sending it out to employers, sending it out to advertisers. And at the same time, I don't know about you, I kind of like it, because if I was looking for a part for my one of my project cars, my sports car, and what happens? I looked at the part, I get an advertisement for that exact part. Now, before I was looking, I was kind of thinking about it, but when they showed me the advertisement, I bought it. Because I said, this is really cool. I may not be able to get it. It was a rim for my car. I may not find another one like this. It's brand new. I'm going to buy it. And I bought it. So, on the one side, I don't like it. On the other side, I think it's great, because guess what? I don't have to think about shopping anymore.
Exactly.
Here's what happened. This is a couple days ago. I wanted a very special pair of sneakers, tennis sneakers, a Babolet SFX 3. And they don't make them anymore. And they don't make them in blue. And I had been looking around the internet for a size 11 in blue. What happens? I get an ad. You think I bought it? Absolutely. Because I said, I love these things so much, I want them. This is 2 days ago. So, I thought about it, and then I had it presented to me. So what I'm saying is, because we're so inundated, we need to have this artificial intelligence understand the kind of things we want and need, so that we're presented, because we just don't have time anymore. There are too many data points. We need to have it presented in a very filtered way. That's where the AI helps. That's why, on one hand, you're right about this, the privacy and security. On the other hand, we don't have much of a choice, because we have to filter that data out.
Thank you very much, Gary. I mean, you just drew the line there between the devil and the deep blue sea. You either take one side or take the other side. And obviously, taking the side that exposes all your data is to your benefit. I read in the press some time ago about a elderly man that had his Apple Watch on, but had an accident while hiking. And the Apple Watch sent some distress information to his iPhone, which was being back to his family. And that was how they could track him after about 24 hours, with a broken ankle or something. And we like that. We like those stories. But guess what? His data had to be opened up. No, his privacy had to be invaded for such to be available. And I guess that's what you're talking about.
Well, Nathaniel, listen, so I had Alexa in my bedroom, and I'll never forget one night I was in there with my wife, and the Echo goes off. And I'm thinking to myself, I happen to say a word that triggered the Alexa, and I thought, this damn thing's listening to me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I
Wow.
hooked it right on the spot. It was the last time I used it.
Wow. Wow.
Well, think about it. We go down through, we have Siri, we have Alexa, we have all these different tools at our disposal. They're listening all the time, right? Part of the way you get information is by listening. So we have to be careful what we ask for. We want these tools, these voice recognition tools, but at the same time, you want the convenience in your house to have like a robotic experience, but you don't want to be listened to all the time. Well, the problem is the Alexa can't really sort out today what to listen to and what not to listen to. It has to listen to everything to get the data from you so it can make a decision. So it's an interesting quandrum. But let me tell you, as the data keeps stacking up, it's going to happen more and more and more that these systems, these AI driven systems, are going to come into our lives.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's inevitable from my own side of the world. It's inevitable. Thank you very much for your input, Gary. And also, if you're watching us right now, wherever you're watching us from, you have questions about AI, work tech, remote tech, you have any question, no matter how silly it is, just drop a line. I'll be here to pick the question. We are about coming to the end, or let's say midway of this show. We have only Gary here with us, and we'd like your comments. So, Gary, I have this big question about work tech and remote tech. A lot of people feel that it's some big terminology that makes you need to have some programming language skills, some deep knowledge about certain things. And I dare say that going forward, a lot of professionals will need to get used to a lot of these technologies to remain relevant. Like we know some people are not too computer savvy, but right now it would be so terrible if you do not know how to use Zoom. I mean, the other day I'm part of a project while I'm in Lagos that teaches school children how to use computers, and these children are all the way in the north of Nigeria, and all we have to use is Zoom. So I'm thinking, not everybody knows how to share a screen on Zoom. Not everybody knows how to point and all that. So apart from Zoom, tell me, what are the other tools do you think professionals need to be absolutely in charge of to be really relevant in the future?
Well, I mean, the thing is that what that we need to do is we need to have that access into the world. So just the simple things, keep it simple, stupid. As you know, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania on the
That's
side of,
right.
and we keep it simple. So, I mean, the simple things as a worker, you need to go down through and you need to use your LinkedIn. You need to have your profile out there. Why? Because people check. They want to know who you are. You need it. What do they do? As soon as they meet you, they do a Google search and they put your name and your name of your company in to see if you're relevant or not. So that's how we develop credibility. And that's really like a first level background check. That's who are you? Then what they do is they go down through and they look through your Facebook profile. So be careful, everybody, with your Facebook profile. Do not put compromising pictures, wedding, bachelor parties, those kind of things, because nothing good's going to happen if some employer happens to look through those pictures.
Yeah, I was going to say that then. That means social media has gone anti-social because you cannot be social as you wanted to.
Well, you got to be, one time somebody asked me, they said, hey, Gary, here's a champagne bottle. Why don't you make look like you're running? Put the champagne bottle like the Flash. And I said, just as a joke. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, guess what? It came up all over on social media. And I saw this picture and I wasn't even drinking. And I thought, I'm never going to do that again. And if I, thank God I wasn't drinking actually. So you got to be careful what you put out there. I mean, is this something that you want in 10 years from now for people to be able to reconstruct? So if you got a political office, would you want this thing coming up? So you got to look at it yourself. So we need to be really conscious ourselves of what we're doing, what kind of clubs we're joining, what types of organizations that we're joining, to be sure that, if something's out there, are you going to be proud of it or not? Just you have to think. Just keep it simple and think. Do you want this or not? So we got to manage our own social profiles. We got to have really create our own social boundaries, where we need to go, what we need to do, and just don't do things that you're not going to be proud of later. So that's it. And in terms of tools, obviously you've got to have a good mobile or cell phone in front of you to be able to use that to access your data, because think about how many times a day you pick up your cell phone, right? 100, 200, 300. It's like I don't know if you're like me, but literally it's about every 10 minutes. If I'm not picking it up, I think there's something wrong. I'm nervous. right?
Yeah, right.
And because I'm wondering, what am I missing? So, as we start through these next generation tools, and then we talk about things like Neuralink, where we have connections like Singularity, and now these systems become part of us, not just holding them. It's going to be quite interesting, right? So imagine if you started to receive, your phone's calling, and you received it inside instead of out, right? It's not a phone, but it's part of you. Those kind of things are going to happen. It's going to happen that we have that kind of singularity. It's going to be very, very interesting for us. So it's, the we all need to be savvy. At the same time, tools are going to come out to make it so people that are less educated, less technically savvy, are going to be able to use these tools a lot easier than they are able to use those today. It just happens. It's the evolution of technology. It's like programming. It used to be you did it from a command level. Now the situation and things have entirely changed to the point you have no code, low code, easier, much easier to do the programming. And that's going to happen throughout our lives too. The technology are going to merge together, and they're going to be a lot easier to use for us.
A lot of people are going to resist this change. And during the pandemic, there was a lot of talk about 5G coming out and the vaccine coming out at the same time, and how it's meant to control people and all that. Now, there will be a lot of disinformation, half truths, and all that. And going forward, with the rate at which technology is adopting, I mean, we're talking about Neuralink and the entire singularity concept. What do you think would be the best way to educate and bring people softly on board? Because it's inevitable, the rate at which technology is developing, that these technologies have to be adopted faster than normal.
Yeah, because I mean it's really simple, Nathaniel. The people that don't adopt it are going to die, right? And I mean die in the sense they're not going to be competitive anymore if they don't adopt, because this data is, there's too much data. It's all about the data. Think about it. In your own personal cloud, you have 300,000 items. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. That number doubles every year. In 5 years, Nathan, you're going to have 10 million items in your personal cloud. How many times every week, and you don't have to answer this, do you say, somebody says to you, did you get my email, or did you get my message? And you say, um, when did you send it? And then you say, where did you send it? Can you resend it again? The three things. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? And
Obviously.
it's increasing in frequency. Why? Because we're inundated. Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, you got WeChat, Telegram, Slack, Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn. You don't even, in our own world, we have more items. The entire web was in 1996. We have so much. We're in a state of infobesity. We need to be able to manage our own personal cloud. We can't even do it. And I've talked to PhDs from MIT, and it's kind of funny, quantum physicists. And they said, can you resend that mail message? I didn't get it because they're inundated. So we need tools, assistants, intelligent assistants to help us live our lives. That can sort through the mail to figure out what's junk and what's not, who's important, who's not. And I actually, before Findo, I had a company called, or before Eva, I had a company called Findo, and we did exactly that. We went through the personal email files, folders, etc., and we're able to search it. The problem is people didn't want to pay. I call it the Google effect. They're so used to getting it for free, they didn't want to pay, and I didn't want to get into advertising and all that. It just wasn't so interesting for me personally. But I had 167,000 customers, but they just didn't want to pay money for it because Google gives it for. They think Google's giving it to them for free.
Obviously, and now they find out that their information is out there being auctioned and sold. And well, like you said, nothing goes for free, and eventually you pay for it somehow. Interesting. I mean, this topic is actually quite large. I do not even have as much insight in this industry like I would wish to have. But Gary, give me your thoughts. I mean, 5, 10 years from now, how do you see this work-life balance, remote tech, work tech playing out? And we've talked about the hybrid model being the new normal. Now, how will that affect small businesses, a lot of businesses that used to operate from small shops, and all that? How do you think that will affect in 5, 10 years from now?
Well, I mean, the playing field is being leveled, right? It's like Nikola Tesla talked about the democratization of energy back in the late 1800s. It's incredible because it's going to be more democratic. It's going to be. It doesn't matter where. It's not going to matter where you are. It's going to matter of how well you can master the data, how you can go out and use that data to search for customers. Think about how much easier it is. It used to be used to make phone calls to find customers. Now you've got all kind of databases, LinkedIn, et cetera, where you can go down through and search for customers. It's different. So in 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen is there's going to be the playing field will be leveled. You'll be able to access anybody from anywhere, and it'll be more of, as I said, a virtual, real life virtual experience. By that I mean it'll feel like you're really with that person in a particular setting, but you'll really be in the virtual world playing it out. So I see that a lot. I see employees being trained in entirely different ways. It's not going to be before like you were sitting in a classroom. They're going to be very set up so that it's using artificial intelligence to be able to understand exactly what level you're at and help you learn faster and better. At the same time, it would probably within a 10-year period of time, we'll start to have all kind of the singularity will start to take place like Neuralink. Imagine you wouldn't even have to go in and go to a classroom. You just have a module or information sent over to your brain, and all of a sudden it's updated, right? Oh, you want to go to Harvard and be a doctor? Just a second, Nathaniel. We'll take care of the coursework right now, and you can have your practical training over the next year, and you can do it in Lagos, and we'll supervise you from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Seriously. And, it's going to be.
I have seen some of these technologies, and they are absolutely unbelievable, but they are still believable at the same time. And the point where that gets to you and me on an everyday level, you'll find us becoming more androids and cyborgs than humans, and people have concerns about that.
Well, I mean, the situation has already started. Think about it. We have hip replacements. We have knee replacements. We have pacemaker put in our hearts. I mean, it's already started. It's not like it's not started. And now we're using artificial intelligence to get down through. And so, if you're going to be able to do some gene splitting, gene slicing, to be able to adapt to take the cancer out of your genes, imagine that how that changes everything. So you don't even have to worry about diabetes or genes, cancer, because you're actually have it edited. You have this editing done. So we're not going to have the same kind of challenges that we had before. At the same time, we're going to live a lot longer, Nathaniel. In your
Yeah.
life, you live well over 100 years old, right? Well over 100. The new target's 150. So we're going to have, think about stem cells. Stem cells are being done now. So, for instance, if you had a heart attack, you can actually get those stem cells put in at places like the Life Institute in Panama to be able to fix the scar tissue, go in and heal and change the scar tissue from something that happened, diabetes, cancer. It's already started. My friend went down. He's in very, very good shape, and he's in his late 40s. He had a problem with his hip because he used his hip so much. They said he was going to need a hip replacement. Well, he got stem cell therapy done on his hip, and with less than 3 months, he was playing tennis again, and he could barely walk before that. He was walking with a cane. So, and here's a guy that's in phenomenal shape. So these are some of the technologies. Then we talk about 3D printing of organs. What happened? Pancreas are being able to developed in less than 6 weeks today. So we're already at a stage where these technologies are starting to take place. It's a beautiful life. I mean, one of the things we need to do as a planet, we need to understand our population of the planet is going to go from 8.1 billion to 13. We need to understand how we're going to grow food, how to be able to, in some senses, control the growth. At the same time, we need to take care of our planet. Our planet is like a spaceship, right? We've got 200 trillion galaxies in the universe. and we're literally a ship flying around. We need to take care of it a lot better. There's things with global warming, the way we're destroying our forest. We're going to kill ourselves, put ourselves out of existence if we don't take care of it a lot better than we are today. So that has to take place, and we need to use these technologies to be able to help us monitor. What I see, one thing about AI and IoT is you can monitor things in real time. So if there's a problem, it's not about after the fact, it's about real time monitor and correct. That's where the beauty of it. It's going to happen in WorkTech and RemoTech. It's going to happen in supply chain, agri-tech, all around us. It's a beautiful time, and there's amazing opportunities that each one of us can take advantage of. But it's a matter of getting shit done. You got to want to do it, and you have to do it.
You're very right, Gary. And I came across, or I worked with a project in Nigeria a couple of years ago into stem cell, and I saw how it did remarkable things for people that use their product out of Switzerland. And I thought that if this technology was available, everybody should have it. Well, obviously, it's pretty pricey. It was pretty pricey then for the average Nigerian. But like you said, I see it becoming a norm. And it is not something that we should run away from. It's something we should run towards. And obviously, the advancements in technologies will also mean advancements in our work-life habits. It will get better. It's not at the best stage now, but it will get better. Obviously, professionals have to do more to equip themselves with the right mindset, with the right tools, and go out there and get shit done. And thank you very much, Gary. Do you have any last in thoughts before we call it a day today?
Yeah, no, I'm very upbeat and positive about where we're going. And this data that's around us, each one of us has a responsibility to be able to manage our data and understand it. At the same time, we've got to take care of our planet, as I said. We've got to make this world a better place. We got to figure out, we got technologies now, the Zooms, the StreamYards. We need to work together better. We need to do things in a very unified way. The Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. As a whole, we need to be able to help each other and have some compassion to make this world a better place. It's a great time, a great opportunity. We're connected. Let's go do it, and let's move forward together. And let's embrace AI. Let's embrace quantum computing, and let's use it to make our lives better.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gary. We come to the end of today's session on Latin University TV. Entrepreneurs, startups, businesses out there, you heard it. You need to learn more about what we talked about. If your project is around WorkTech or RemoTech, go to YouTube, watch this video over again. Reach out to the team if you feel like pitching your project to Gary or the rest of the panelists that you could have. And let us see, you might just be getting the exposure and the support that you need. And in a few minutes, another edition of Latoken VCTV will be coming up. You can stay tuned on our social media or YouTube, watch it live. And until then, thank you very much for viewing today. And Gary, thank you very much for coming today. It really meant a lot, and look forward to having you at another session, probably later this week.
Sounds great. Take care of yourself, Nathaniel. Thank you. And bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.